Hello there, and welcome back to Out on a Limb with Gabby Allen. That would be me. Today we have the absolutely amazing Rosalind Boyd with us, who was just on Amazon's bestseller for free books with number 2 and number 5. That is amazing. Honestly, go out and find all of her things because she is all kinds of awesome when it comes to storytelling. That is definitely going to make you not do the dishes on time. So warn people. So anyway, we have Rosalind here today. Absolutely. She and I met at Hollow Reads, which is a festival type of book fair slash author reader event that used to happen in Ellicott City in Maryland. And it is not happening anymore. But when it was, she and I got a lot of time to talk, and I am really excited to have her on today to kind of talk about what she does and how she does it, which is what we answer here. Out on a limb, grab a branch, let's go. So what is it that you do and how do you do it?
Okay, I write paranormal romance. I'm starting to dabble in science fiction romance, which is fun. I have a couple of romantic thrillers on my hard drive, which will be coming out next year.
Awesome.
And how do I do it? Not nearly scheduled enough. I'm usually up all night long. I think I got like 3 hours of sleep last night. So I usually sleep in on Saturdays and Sundays to make up for everything, all the sleep I've missed.
Well, you look lovely.
Yeah.
You look lovely.
Oh, thank you.
Even with I would never look as lovely. If I had 3 hours of sleep, I'd have to point the camera to the ground where I'm laying on the carpet.
Tons of moisturizer.
I love that's awesome. That is awesome. So you write do you write 7 days a week, or do you write like the 5 and then you leave Saturday and Sunday to catch up on like humanizing yourself again?
The goal is 7 days a week. Realistically, 4 to 5 days a week. Okay. That's about how much I write. Yep. I've tried to schedule it during the day when my daughter's in school.
Yeah.
But I just usually sit there staring at the computer, and then I wind up on YouTube or reading a book, and it doesn't cut on until maybe 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then I'm writing from, let's say, 10 p.m. to 3 in the morning.
Wow.
And then, yes. And that's if I'm lucky.
Go ahead.
Oh, sometimes I'm up until the sun comes up, and then it's like, no.
I need an extra 4 hours in there. Can we back it up a little bit? So have you always been like a night owl type of producer? Like when you were younger, did you do your homework at that time? Or is this just what you have done to accommodate family stuff?
No, let me see. This is a poor excuse. About 15 years ago, I worked the night shift, 7 to 7.
Yeah.
And I worked that for about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this was like 15 years ago. And I thought I heard somebody call my name.
No worries.
And I haven't been able to get off that schedule. The only time I do manage to sleep at night is if I'm sick. And that's it. Ever since then, I'm just up all night long.
And it's not a bad excuse at all. My husband works from 2:30 until 12:30. He cannot come home and go to bed at 12:45. Nope. Like he can't. And so, he's up till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then he gets up at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And he does that on the weekends too, for one thing, because he doesn't want to get so out of the schedule that he then has to get back into it by Monday. And my brother worked 6 to 6, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 days a week, and then has 7 days off.
Wow.
And he will try to kind of stay awake at night so that that first 6 to 6 is not a shock to his system. You know what I mean? Because that can be hard.
I used to do the same thing. I worked 7 to 7, 3 days a week. So if I was lucky enough to cluster those 3 days together, that next day I would try really hard to stay up all day long so that I can have normal time with my family and friends. But
Not
Now
always.
it's my husband, my daughter, our husky, and the husky's under the table right now. So
Okay. Say hi to her for me.
yeah, she's asleep right now. She's more like a
Okay.
cat than anything else.
Oh,
So
those are the best. I love the dogs that like haven't quite figured out that they are dogs, and they're
right.
like, "Hello, I'm just gonna do my cat thing over here," and you're like, "Well, see now, can we ever talk about that? Because you're not, but that's okay. But we love you, and you just do you."
Yes. That's what she
That's
does. She's her
awesome.
own little pup.
That's
Okay, now she's awake.
fantastic. Okay. So tell me about the sci-fi romance. What are we doing? And romantic thrillers. I am on board.
Okay, the sci-fi romance, you know how the Audible will offer you free things?
Yes.
About a year ago, it offered me this series by, I can't remember, Lauren Donor,
Okay.
Loran Donor. And it was the Voyage series, and the first like four were free. And I'd never listened to an alien romance before. I listened to it and I absolutely loved it. It was, I mean, it's
Oh,
romance. It's just, sometimes you got a little extra, maybe blue or red or green, a tail, horns.
well,
And
as you do. As you do. So
and
do
I
you,
thought, like, let me give it a try.
yeah, do you think so since you already write paranormal romance, do you feel like that transition is a little easier for you because where maybe you're not working with witches and werewolves and magic, you're now working like in just a different time period setting, but probably with a variation of that kind of person? Do you find that that made the transition a little easier for you?
I think so.
Okay.
Because you kind of create your own world. You create your
Yes.
own rules, and that's the same thing
Right.
when we have shifters or werewolves. I mean, my shifters are fallen angels. This
Right.
group of them, so it was kind of easy to kind of carve out this world where these aliens are waiting for their queen to come back, and she's been here on Earth, and she doesn't know she's an alien.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
oh my. Well, you're gonna have to come back when you put those out so that we can talk about those because I that is fascinating to me. I do not do well with the sci-fi thing. I'm not good with technology. Which
me neither.
yeah. Okay. Well, now I'm really intrigued. But I mean, I had to giggle. I don't know if you ever saw, but on I think it was on Amazon that it was and I don't remember what the title is, but it is Amish vampires in space.
I saw that.
I was a little like uh, Amish Amish
Vampire.
vampires in space.
I did
Okay.
not download it, so I didn't take
Didn't
that leap.
either. But I was so fascinated. And I was like, look at that blurb. Look at all those ratings. Holy cow. I was like, I don't know how I do that, but that's cool. So then are you planning like will it be a series? Is it gonna be like a standalone kind of thing?
Nope, it'll be a series. The one that's included in an anthology in September will be the first book in the series.
Oh,
It's the
okay.
Warriors of uh I can't remember the series name. Um,
That's okay. Here at the table, we don't worry about that kind of stuff.
okay. I have so many ideas. I mean, like I said, with
Yeah.
the romantic thriller,
Yeah.
it's about a hit woman who's it's more of a comedy.
Oh, I
Um,
love it.
but she's raising money to go to medical school, so she's got to get that money somewhere. It's
So
not
she
cheap to go to medical
so
school.
she takes on contracts to assassinate so she can go to medical school.
Yep,
I am in
yep.
love. You know what? It's one of the things that I have always loved about the books that you put out, is that they're different. And I say that in the nicest, most loving way because I too tend to do different stuff. Like there's the certain expectation, and then there's like us, and we're
Right,
over, and I love it because and I think readers love it too. Well, obviously, if you're at 2 and 5, but
right.
I think readers love it too because look, I could tear my way through an entire Regency series.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I tear my way through it, and I'm like, a lot of the books are going to be the same. And then you give me this one that's like just outside, and I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. And so yours are the same way. Like your shifters are they very much hit all the pieces that I love in a shifter, but they're just a little bit outside, so that I'm like, oh, there's another book out.
Well, thank you.
I know what I'm doing or not doing. I'm not doing laundry. I'm not paying attention to anyone. Just gonna sit here and read. And if anybody talks to me, I'm gonna hold the book up. So I really like that. Now, will that also be a series where she continuously is trying to pay for her medical education, or is it like a standalone? It sounded like you had more than one.
I can't decide if it's going to be like a trilogy just with her, or if it's going to branch out with other people who work with her. So the first one is written. The second one is halfway written, but I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with all the characters.
Okay. Very cool. Now, so just because we do have some readers that are listening, or at least I hope so. Who knows? Now, are you independently publishing these? How are they coming out?
Well, the Ghost Shifter series, that's self-published.
Yes.
The other series, now this one is like demons and werewolves. That's with Wild Rose Press.
Okay. Yes.
I publish more self-published, just because I kind of can go at my own pace, and the pacing in the book I can kind of go with it the way I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm like in 3 places now, so I have.
Okay, I know. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. You know what's really fun? So I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been publishing with the Wild Rose Press since 2006. And
wow, okay.
Yeah. So previous to that, I also published with a place called Dramar Publishing that was out of Maryland, and they're no longer around. But now I'm also with Kensington, and I'm self-publishing. And I have found that they each have something that I love about them. None of them are like, this is it, I'm not doing anything else, this is all for the rest of my life. Because each of them are like, look, I love the Wild Rose Press. They have really nice covers. I have only ever worked with wonderful editors. But the self-publishing, I'm like, but I want my books to come out only on the odd months and on the 13th, because I'm doing misfit paranormals, and that just spoke to me to be able to put them out on the 13th of the month. I cannot ask Rhonda to change the whole schedule just so that I can have what I want. And I knew that I was putting them out every other month, so I also didn't want Nan, who is my editor there, to be like, oh, okay, when did this become I am Mrs. Editor as opposed to I am an editor? And so it made more sense to do them that way. Plus they're novellas. There just were a lot of different things that I wanted to do. But then the Wild Rose Press, to me, gives me more leeway to not be as mainstream as someone like Kensington would expect. Because
Kensington,
I mean, Kensington they have a whole different structure, and they have a whole different like team structure that is not present at the Wild Rose Press. Now, sometimes I love that, and sometimes I'm like, I love the Wild Rose Press better for certain things. So, you know, and plus, like, I'm used to writing my own blurbs, as I'm sure you are. And then Kensington will be like, here's your blurb. And I'm like, what? No, I already wrote one. Can I send you mine? And she's like, well, you can, but I don't think they're going to change it. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm very used to being on my own. And so you like that about the self-publishing, that you, like you were saying, your pacing and stuff can be maybe not as industry motivated so much as is story motivated.
When I started self-publishing, it was kind of to drive readers to the books with Wild Rose Press because they were more expensive.
Yes.
And when I started doing that with the self-publishing series, I got to like interact with readers to see what kind of covers they like to see.
Oh, very nice.
What kind of characters they wanted to see. That was a big thing with the cover. Um, because I remember I'd gone to my group, and with right now with paranormal romance, the covers are bare-chested men who are muscular, and who are handsome. I mean, that's kind of like what they look like, and that's what sells. And they made a very beautiful cover for the first book that I published with them was Hunted by Angels. Very, very beautiful cover. But it didn't appeal to the readers in the group.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't, same thing with the second book. It was, the cover is, a woman, you see the back of her and you see a wolf next to her. Or you see, in the first one, you see the back of her and she has angel wings and a demon tail.
Okay.
But with paranormal romance, bare-chested, muscular men are what a lot of the readers, they want. So things like that.
If you go look, just for giggles one day, if you go look for Wicked Ink by Misty Simon, I have one of the most amazing man backs.
Okay, Wicked
ever.
Ink.
And he's got this beautiful tattoo across the top of his shoulders. And I was just like, if that wasn't my book, I wouldn't even care. I would buy it simply to be able to have the image. I actually had magnets made out of it, and I think they're for like 2017. And I can tell you that there are some people who are still operating on a 2017 calendar on their refrigerator because they're like, this is not coming down. That is huge in the paranormal. And that's
what sells. That's kind of what catches people's attention.
And you want to make sure
if it's contemporary or romance.
Yeah.
That's right. Different. And I wanted to do what people wanted to look at and wanted to read. I mean, because when you look at a book cover, the first thing that catches your attention before you even read the blurb is the book cover.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't kind of meet with what you're used to, it's like, nah.
Right. Or your expectation is thwarted a little bit because like if your blurb is like, come jump into this sexy romance with this werewolf or this angel and the woman who's finally going to redeem him, but does he want to go back? And then you have a cover, like the cover that you want is like this man and like power, and what you get instead is like a fluffy dog and a girl sitting there like this. Not that the Wild Rose Press would do that particular thing, but I have seen other covers where I was like, yeah, that like your blurb is sexy, but your cover is definitely not sexy. And I don't know how I feel about that because the cover is the first thing. I might click on your fluffy dog cover because I'm like, I need something fun right now. I want something fun. I have fluffy dog on my cover. But if I want like a sexy, like just drag me into your world kind of book, I want something on the outside that represents that, even if it's a Kindle. I mean, it's not like I'm not holding it or petting it, but I still want, that's what's going to catch my eye. So, okay. So for self-publishing, I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. Do you have somebody else do your cover and your formatting and editing and stuff like that?
Yes. I learned to format about a year ago.
Okay.
Because it's easier, but at least while I'm on Kindle Unlimited, I can format it. But when I go wide with the next series, I'm going to have to get somebody else to do it because I don't know how to do all that stuff.
Right.
But I do get other people to do the cover.
Okay.
Do the read-throughs.
Nice. Like a beta reader kind of thing, or
yes.
Okay. Very cool.
I did beta readers for a while. I'm working with a new editor for the first time. So with this next one, so I'm anxious to see, what she does with it.
Right.
I'm nervous, but I'm anxious to see what it looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people sometimes think that writers are like this very solitary thing, and it can be when you're writing it.
Mhm.
You know, if you tend to work better kind of making everything on your own, that with the story itself, that's one thing.
Right.
But then when you start like putting it out into the world, whether you're self-publishing, small publishing, large publishing, doesn't matter, you do start bringing other people in, and you do start
Yep.
having other opinions, and it is good. Like, so when you do a cover, do you tell them what you want, or do you like send them the synopsis and say, what do you think, or how do you do that?
I tell him what I want. His name is Rand. I'll tell him, like, I like this guy.
Right.
Can you put a smoky red background with a saber tooth and anything else you want on there? Because with the ghost shifters, they're saber tooth shifters.
Right.
So, and then he'll send me back something, and it'll either be like, nah, or yeah, this is awesome. So,
Right. I
but
love
he's
it.
very
Or
patient.
can we try again?
Right. He's really patient.
Good.
There have been times I've screwed up. I gave him the wrong title one time, and when
No.
I
You're like,
when I saw it, I was
send
like,
me this. What is that?
"That's not it."
Oh, you know what though? I mean, it's so funny.
I just looked at it. I was like, "That's not right."
Well, and I think the other part of it is that sometimes people don't think about how big of a process this is. It's not just
It
you
is.
sit
Yep.
down and you write for a couple hours and your story is done, and then you just
Oh God,
gently
no.
float it out into the world in its perfection. No, there are days where I'm like, oh my God, it's, how is it 3 o'clock in the morning, and
Yep.
I should have eaten, and crap, I probably should have laundry, and there's a kid around here somewhere who belongs to me, and and then you're done. And like, so I personally send my stuff to critique partners, and I have
Okay.
3 of them, and they bring it back and they give me all the things that need to be looked at. Then I send it to an editor, and then depending on which path it's in, I go from there. But that's
Okay.
not easy. That's it's
No.
it is very time consuming, and I struggle sometimes when people are like, well, I just, I why can't I have your book for free? And I'm like, well, I don't mind putting it for free for a little bit, and please
Right.
go grab that. But like, follow through on the sale would be nice too. If you liked my world, maybe read the other ones, because I put a lot of myself and a lot of my time into
Yep.
these. And I mean, I have never walked into the grocery store and walked out without groceries without paying for them. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I don't
So
think, people don't understand, like you said, how much it takes. I mean, because it's
yes,
not just, he said this, he did that. I mean, you're
right.
painting a picture.
Hmm.
You kind of study people to,
Hmm.
when you're talking to people, you're just not talking. You're moving your hands, or you're shifting
Right.
your weight from one foot to the other, or you're frowning, there's so much that goes into writing a small scene because you
Yeah,
want people to be able to see it the way you see it.
exactly. Exactly. That's like, sometimes I wish you could just put like a little straw on your forehead and just like bleed it out onto the paper.
That would be awesome.
I would, wouldn't it? But then I'm a little afraid, because I wouldn't want anybody to put a straw in my head if I'm having bad thoughts. So I would have to be able to gauge exactly when the straw was appropriate. Oh my gosh. How do I get off on these things? Maybe I should write some sci-fi straw head people, and it'll fly. It'll be my best series ever.
You
Oh my
never
goodness.
know. There was an
You know.
episode of Charmed like that once, but he's blinked out. Okay, there we go. Okay.
There we are. Hello.
My husband, he now when I'm doing other things, I'm thinking about what I'm writing. So if I'm washing dishes, I'm like, like nah, nah, nah. Then I'm talking or trying to figure out, or I'll tell him like I'm watching him, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just I'm trying to figure this out," or
Right.
when it's a lot.
It is.
It was easier, but
Uh,
it's not.
but it's so worth it. Even if it's not easy, it's still really worth it, because I
It
love
is.
being able to share my stories and my worlds with other people. And I'm just not I'm built for that, as I think that you also are built as a storyteller for that. So do you ever have your husband try to solve your story problems? Like, is he good at
I
that?
do not.
Okay.
He is very logical.
Oh.
He cannot understand like writing about shifters. He's like, but it's not real. But that's what's fun. Like, I just made all this stuff up, man.
What do you think I do all day? I lie for a living. What more?
Like the only thing he recently got into Game of Thrones, so he's read all of the books that have been published so far. He watches podcasts and stuff like that. But before that, he used to watch documentaries on wars or drug lords or the Marine Corps. He's a Marine. He watches news when he's at home. I mean, he's a fireman, he's a longshoreman, but when he's home, he's watching MSNBC, he's watching CNN. It's just like, man, can we watch something stupid for a while, please?
I really want to see the funny dogs, cats. Can we just move over to that on YouTube now? Oh my gosh, that is too funny. Sometimes though my husband will try to fix my story and then he'll like get irritated. Not irritated, that's probably too strong of a word, but like sad a little and upset that I'm not willing to take his solution. And I'm like,
okay.
Well, I appreciate because of what you said, I jumped off with a different idea, but that particular, the one that you tried to hand to me, isn't actually going to work because you haven't read the story. So maybe I didn't say it right. And I'm like, or I'm just not going to ask anymore. Like, okay, we got to do one of this. Because I am used to brainstorming with other authors. And for the most part, if you're brainstorming with other authors, they don't care if you use the idea that they came up with. They just want you to be able to move forward in your story. And because they also do the same thing. So they kind of like understand how that works. So do you have people that you do that with, or are you kind of...
Okay.
Oh, we paused. I think I'll definitely watch this one before I'm done so that we can make sure everybody's good. So do you have like a group of people that you interact with? You had said that you went to your group. So is that a group of readers or is that a group of authors?
A group of authors. We used to meet, and we don't anymore, and it's really sad. It was a nice group of maybe like 6 of us, and it was a critique group with the Maryland Writers Association, and we were the Charm City Writers, and we met once a month, and we kind of kicked ideas off each other on the computer. But the other authors kind of write on the side. I did until I got laid off about 5 or 6 years ago. And then I gave myself a year. I was like, I'm going to make this a full-time thing, or I'm going to go back to work. I got to make this a full-time thing. So I worked really hard to be able to write full-time. But I mean, there were other people in my group. One was a lawyer for the state, so they were people who had these great steady jobs. And then there was me who got laid off. And I kind of jumped on it where when I would bring in pieces every month, it was always something new because like you, I was publishing every other month. So I needed someone here now. I need you focused, but then it just, so now I'm with an online group. It's a romance beta reader group. And I think I probably need people who are just reading because how do I put it? I write fast and I kind of want feedback so I can move on to the next thing. And everybody's busy. Everybody has their own lives and they have stuff going on. But if I give you something, I'm going to need it back before next month. So.
And I'm so happy that you made that point. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I'm sorry. There was a stutter there from me. When you're talking about having readers and needing it back before the next month, that's one of the things that I think, people also don't necessarily think all the way through. That is like, what do you want from who you are interacting with? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And are you willing to give it back? Now, I know of authors who
Mm-hmm.
have beta reader groups that they literally are just readers. They are not authors. They are there. It's a
Mm-hmm.
kind of, so they used to call it a street team a long time ago. I don't know if they
Right.
still do. That was the word, that was the phrase that I heard a lot. But it was mainly like people who were there to do what the author asked them to do, whether that
Mm-hmm.
throw stuff out on Facebook or read their books or whatever. They were like their support team. Then there are
Mm-hmm.
other people who would do like, they were a part of more of an author group where they all
Right.
read each other's
Yep.
stuff. So you have to know what your needs and desires are, because if you're writing full time and you write a lot and you write fast,
Mm-hmm.
do you always have time to read other people? Not always,
Right.
and you have to think
Right.
of that. I write fast too, but I also have a full-time job during the day. um I write fast too, and so I've always had to be like kind of cognizant of how much am I giving out and how much am I going to
Right.
be able to return because of what I'm doing. So yeah, yeah, but they're a good group and they help out and stuff, and you feel comfortable in there, and that's awesome.
Yes. Yes. Even there was one idea I had, and the one lady was like, "That's a lot. That's too much. You may need to trim that down a little bit." Like, okay, because it was a lot going on. She's like, "Yeah, no, that's just too much going on in one book. You're gonna have to flesh that out." Like, okay, thank you
you're,
for that.
you're like, okay, 3 books. Would you take it in 3 books?
Right. I'm like, they're angels and they're gods, and maybe it's reverse harem. And she's like, whoa, like,
Where's the kitchen
you gotta slow
sink?
down.
Where's the kitchen sink, Rosalind? We need that in there too. That's too funny. Well, and it is nice. I think sometimes, I know I tend to get super, super excited about an idea, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and then it's gonna blah 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, whoa, like, are you sure? Like, I don't know. In the execution of that, I think you're gonna lose some things because you have too much going on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I think,
no, go ahead. I was just gonna ask nothing. Go ahead.
I think sometimes now when I do, I don't watch as much TV as I used to, just because when my daughter's 9, so she can't watch the things that I'm interested in watching.
Right.
So I don't watch them during the day.
Yeah.
And then at night, I'm writing. So when I do watch television, I do remember on the History Channel, there was a series called Banned Books of the Bible.
Yes. I loved
Okay.
that series.
So that's where, yes, I love that. Do we even have History Channel anymore? Yes, we do. But that's where some of the ideas came from. And it was just so much information that it's like, like you said, you get this idea and it's just like, I gotta throw everything in here, but that doesn't make sense. It's
Right.
people get lost and it's just too much.
But there's nothing wrong with having it, having that idea and having to pare it back, than having this little tiny grain and you're like, so like, is that going to be a short story? Because I have exactly one thing going on. And that I would much prefer somebody say, please tell me this is going to be a series, than somebody say, well, you're not writing more than a novella, right? So what's coming out first? Because we're getting in on we're almost in on the I think the close to 35 minutes.
Okay.
They go so fast.
The next book that's coming out is book 2 of the Ghost Shifters of Salvatore. And it's called The Shifter's Demon.
Okay.
And then in September, the SciFi Romance, The Queen's Return, comes out.
I am excited.
I'm excited too.
That's awesome.
I have plans, like, you get these plans, and like I said, I have unpublished books on my hard drive, and I do want to get those looked at and come out next year, but there are things that are just kind of lined up before they can come out, and I'm working on it.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it's interesting. I like to read things in order. And so sometimes I will wait for a little bit, but until more of them are out so that I can kind of read them a little like binge kind of in order. I think Netflix has definitely made us a very bingey society now where everybody's like, I want them all and I want them the second. And so I know there were a couple of people who were like the Tally Graver mysteries that I was doing for Kensington are like, well, I'm going to wait till they're all out and then I'll buy them all at the same time. And I was like, oh, okay. Or I had one lady who's like, I am buying them when they come out, but I'm actually not going to read them until they're all out. And I was like, okay. Like I'm neither here nor there. Although if it's a new series and it's somebody that I know I love their stuff, I will buy the first one just because I want to have it. And
me too.
It's ridiculous. That's just how I am. But yeah, so that's exciting. So we have SciFi coming out. We have Shifters coming out. So what is your website where people can find you?
www.raboyd.com. I'm also on Facebook, which I think it's R.A. Boyd Writer.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the main two.
And do you have like a newsletter?
I do have a newsletter.
Okay, and do we sign up for that through your website? Yes. Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's awesome.
Sure.
Right. Yes.
I'm all about the newsletter. I love newsletters. I'm like, I really like getting newsletters, quite frankly. I probably have, I would say close to 100 subscriptions that I have.
Okay.
See, there's the kid.
Okay.
But I like being able to, because a lot of them only put one out like every 6 months or so. So it's not like I'm getting 100 emails a day, but I like seeing what they're up to. You know what I mean?
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad thing. So, okay. So we know your website. We know where to find you on Facebook. We know what's coming out. And, you know, as far as like where you see yourself going forward, so we're going to do sci-fi, PNR, and paranormal and romantic thrillers, or are you dropping one to continue on with any of the others?
No, the romantic thriller is just probably going to have a different pen name.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. So that people are aware. Are you going to change for sci-fi versus paranormal also, or
no?
Those are close enough.
I think they're close enough. It's nothing. It's not as hardcore as like hardcore science fiction, like Star Wars and stuff like that. No, it's
where you could build a ship afterwards because they've showed you how to wire the control panel.
Right. Yeah, it's not that deep.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. But you will have something else for the romantic thrillers.
Yes. I think probably by the time the romantic thriller comes out, I'll have all three, at least three of those books written. Because like I said, I don't see that coming out till, let's say, mid to end of next year. So I'm kind of planning for that one. Because like you said, sometimes people don't want to get the book as soon as it comes out. They want to wait until it's done.
Yes.
And
yeah, I got you on that one. So you'll have to come back on as whoever you're choosing to be on that day.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out who that is. We'll figure it out.
Believe me, I often forget that I am also Gabby Allen because people say something to me and I'm like, who are you talking to? And they're like, aren't you? Actually, I had somebody calling to interview me for an article and I answered my phone. I always answer my phone. Hello, this is Misty. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I call the wrong number? And I was like, oh, are you looking for Gabby Allen? She was like, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, because I gave my phone number to the publicist through Kensington, I thought they would tell them her name is Misty, her pen name is Gabby, but I guess not. So I should have said, I'm sorry, can you please hold? I'm just Gabby's secretary here for the day. Make myself, I'll have my people call your people.
Call your people.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I love it so much. One day, Rosalind, one day
we are
going.
That's the goal.
We will have people. I still will not let them call you because that would be a personal phone call for me.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
would
one
make
day we'll
time
have
for that.
people.
We will have people. I think we should have people. I think some of them should definitely be able to double for the front cover of a paranormal romance.
That would be nice. I don't think my husband would appreciate it,
I
but
don't
that's
think mine
okay.
would either. They don't have
Fine,
to.
it's work.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right. He's just on the payroll.
Right.
Oh my gosh, too funny. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being here. This was a blast. It went by really fast.
It
As
did. Thank you for
does.
having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I have missed you and I've missed your face. I
I've
got
missed you
used
too.
to. Thank you. I got used to seeing you every year.
Oh, we paused.
That's
Okay.
okay. I think I'm gonna watch, but
Yeah.
I believe the camera is pausing on your side, but not over here. So as long as
Okay.
you're not talking, I think we should be okay on those places.
Okay.
But I'll make sure. I'll make sure. But
Okay.
yeah, I got used to, like, every year. I'm like, woohoo! It's almost time, and then it wasn't.
That was fun. I looked forward to that. After I had my daughter, that was like the one thing I did every year that got me out of the house because I like being in the house.
Yep.
So that was like the one
Totally.
time, like telling my husband, like, dude, you got to be home this weekend because you got to keep Isabel because
Right.
I'm not gonna be here.
I will be out partying with the authors because that's me. That's awesome. I love it. Well, I am really looking forward to everything that is coming out for you. I am super excited about the number 2 and number 5 on the Amazon
Thank you.
list. I think that those are wonderful banners to have. And I just hope that it gets you more and more readers. And hopefully this will too, because this was such a pleasure to do and people are going to want to read your stuff.
Okay. My daughter asked me when I was like, baby, you're gonna have to be quiet while I'm on the computer. She said, Mommy, are you famous? I said, no, baby.
Yes,
That's not
you
what's
are.
it.
Yeah, you are. We'll make you famous. Here we go. Let's make Roslyn famous. I would be totally on board for that. Totally on board. So, all right. Well, thank you again so much for being here. And I'll make sure that people have the links to your stuff. And as I've said in other episodes, if you have any questions for myself or Roslyn that we can help you with, please do not hesitate to put them in the comments and we'll look them over. And if it's something we can help you with, we would be more than happy to do that. So, Roslyn, I hope you have an amazing day. Enjoy your dog
You
and
too.
your daughter. And I'll talk to you next time when you're going to be somebody else.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good day,
you.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.